So I graded your midterm exams this weekend, and there were a lot of errors in the part writing analysis, or the chord analysis, the Roman numeral analysis. So I wanted to go over that in case there were questions. Do people have questions on how to do that? A lot of you just left things blank.
Did you get my response?
I did not.
Oh, I was just letting you know that I sent the rest of my pages to my email because I accidentally only turned in one page, but I
Okay.
sent them in the same minute. So
Okay, cool. So I wanted to go over an example from your textbook. This is on page 64 in your textbook. It's in the section called diatonic seventh chords. It's page 64. Are there people with questions on how to do the analysis? Not that they're going to admit it on camera in front of everybody. All right, so the example that I want to look at is in G major. I'm going to share my desktop with you. Okay, can everybody see that? So G major is our one chord. A is our two. B is our three. C is my four. D is my five. E is my six. F sharp is going to be my seven, which is diminished. Are there any questions on that so far?
you know,
Hearing none, seeing none. So here we go. I've got a G, a D, a G, and a B. What kind of a chord do I have? According to my charty chart, a G, B, and a D would be a one chord. True?
yes.
Okay, next I have an A, a C, an F sharp, and a C. I can throw out the duplicate, right? Bueller. Bueller. You guys too young for that movie? I think he's sick. F sharp, C. Means we have a seven chord, yes? Not a seventh, but a seven. So we're going to write Roman numeral VII. Is it in root position? What note has to be in the bottom if we're in root position? Can you hear me? Can you see everything all right? Am I frozen?
Mm,
All right, let's go over the root signs again. If we have a triad, and we're in root position, what is our symbol? There is no symbol. That was a trick question. If we're in first inversion, what is our symbol?
A 6.
6. If we are in second inversion, what is our symbol?
6, 4.
6, 4. What about if we have seventh chords? If we're in root position, we get a
7.
If we're in first inversion, we get a
6, 5.
6, 5. If we're in second inversion, we get a
4, 3.
4, 3. And if we're in third inversion,
4, 2.
4, 2.
The 7 chords are easy to remember because it just counts down from 7.
That's right. So here we are. We have a 7 chord. So not a 7th chord, but a 7. Scale degree 7 chord. The root is F sharp, but we have an A in the bass. So we know that we need to put a 6 right there. No one's saying anything, so I don't know if you know this or if you don't get this or if you're afraid of being wrong. All I know is you put a lot of bad answers on your midterm exams. So you can go on your midterm exams now and you can look under, you have to click on something that's like view feedback, and you can see where I marked your exams all up on the stuff that you got wrong. Okay. Next, I have a B flat, a G, and a D. What kind of a Roman numeral am I going to put?
Well, you put a 3 because it's a 3 chord.
How do you figure it as a 3 chord?
Because it's... Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's a 1 chord, but it's inverted.
Good. So we got B flat, D, and G, which is G, B flat, D. So I'm going to put a 1 chord, and then I'm going to put what? Because it's inverted.
You're going to put a 6 next to it.
Good. Jordan, next chord.
We have an A, a C, an F, and a C. So it's a 7 chord.
Good. And it's not in root position, so what do I got to do?
A, C. It's in first inversion.
So I'm going to write
6.
Good. Maya, next chord.
We got a B, a G. What is that? It's a D.
Yep.
And then another G.
Yep. What kind of a chord is it?
1 chord.
1 chord. Is it in root position?
Yes.
So I just have to put
A 1.
Roman numeral 1. Good. Elizabeth. What kind of a chord do we have here?
There's A, G, C, and E.
You got it. So what's my what number?
Is it 2?
It is a 2. Now it has an A, a C, an E, and a G, so that tells us it's some type of 7th chord. Yeah, it's a 2/7.
Yes.
Is it in root position though?
No.
No, because if it was root position, it would have an A on the bottom. So we're not writing 7. It has a C on the bottom, so we're gonna write
A 6 and 5.
a 6 and 5. Good. All right, Haley, you got the next one. We got D, F sharp, and remember that this A is gonna hold over. So what kind of chord do we have, Haley?
Um, a, a D chord?
D chord, which is a 5 chord, right?
Yeah.
Good. Good job. Trevor, you're next. What do we got?
The first note is a G,
Okay.
and then next is a D.
Okay.
The next note is another G,
Okay.
and then the last one is a B,
All right. What kind of a chord is that?
or one chord.
Excellent. Are we in root position?
Yes.
Excellent. Does everybody see how to do that? I saw a lot of left blank answers. I saw a lot of wrong inversion answers on the midterm. So if you have questions on that, please come to office hours. Come to tutoring with Gibson. But let's get it. Are we good? Can we leave that? Can I clear my screen? There's no reason to be lost. There's no reason to be lost. Okay? All right. I forgot to assign to you all the quiz for chapter 5. Is this true? So I just let me give that to you now. The chapter 5 quiz is all multiple guests online. It is in 3 sections. Section A is wanting you to critique a melody and talk about what is wrong with the melody. Section B is wanting you to critique part writing. So finding all the part writing errors that occur. And part C is wanting you to do a Roman numeral analysis like we just did, but also talk about if the chord is an open or closed structure. Now, when you take part C, follow the instructions and only write O or C. If you write open or closed, the quiz will mark you wrong. So I want to make sure you don't lose out on points and have to retake it. Questions on the quiz? So here's a preview for you. There's your little melody. There's something wrong at letter A, B, C, D, E, and F. And you have to choose where do these problems occur? At what letter do these problems occur? Okay. Question 2. There are these part writing errors. What letter do those errors occur at? And you have to choose those letters. And then example C is you have to write in a Roman numeral analysis. And then you have to write either O or C. Type the Roman numeral in the first blank and O for open. Or C for closed in the second blank. Okay, questions on the quiz? All right. Hearing none, seeing none.
When is it due?
It's due by Sunday, 9:59 p.m. So I know that's a little late. I gave you a whole another week to do it, but that's all right. Okay. Any questions on anything we've gone over so far? We are on to chapter 6 today. Is this exciting? We only have 3 chapters left. 6, 7, and 8. Today we are talking about not chapter 26. Who put us in chapter 26? That would not be fun. We are talking about root position part writing. Yeah. We will begin our first efforts at tonal composition by exploring the relatively restricted environment of root position triads. It's totally restricted. I can't breathe. Inverted triads are introduced in chapters 8 and 9, and they will allow us to write more melodic bass lines, but for now we will have to accept the somewhat rigid contour of root position bass. So everything is in root position in this chapter. The inner voices should be treated as melodies, even if they are seldom as interesting as the soprano line. It is especially important to observe, even in the inner voices, the rules concerning leaps that you learned in the previous chapter. Although you learned quite a bit about seventh chords in chapters 3 and 4, we will not begin using them compositionally until chapter 14. That is next semester. However, seventh chords will appear frequently in musical examples and self-test analysis problems, as well as in exercises in the workbook. So you will have the opportunity to become better acquainted with them before we launch into their special voice leading requirements. Are we good so far? We can reduce to 4 the number of different intervals that can separate the roots of any 2 chords. This is because a second and a seventh, for example, are the same in this context. Because the part writing of the upper voices is the same whether the bass moves by a second or a seventh. The 4 combinations are a second apart, which is the same as a seventh apart, a third apart, which is the same as a sixth apart, a fourth apart, which is the same as a fifth apart, or same roots, a repeated chord. Did that make any sense to anybody? What is the magic number?
9?
9 is the magic number. Good job. So a second plus a seventh equals a ninth. 3 plus 6 equals 9. 4 plus 5 equals a 9. And 1 plus 8 equals a 9. So when our bass moves up a fourth or down a fifth, it gets the same note. I'll try to show you what I mean. Over here on my cheat sheet, if my note is G and I move down a second, I get F. But if I move up a seventh, I also get an F. So second or seventh equals 9. If I move down a third, I get an E. If I move up a sixth, I get an E. 6 plus 3 equals 9. If I move down a fourth, I get D. If I move up a fifth, I get D equals 9. If I stay the same or I move up an octave, I still get G. So does that make sense? Does that part of the book make sense?
Yes.
Excellent. It was a little confusing this morning, but we're all right now. Okay. As we deal with these four combinations, which we will take up in reverse order from the preceding list, the conventions followed in writing for 3 and 4 parts are presented. These conventions are not rules, yes they are, but instead are tested recipes for successful part writing of chord progressions in the root position, and you do not need to scan the texture for parallels or other problems when you follow them. Situations will occur when the melody or some other factor makes it impossible to follow the conventions, but this is relatively uncommon. So they're setting up a structure for us where they tell us we don't even have to scan for parallels or other problems, because if you do these things, you're going to be just fine. I like that. A major issue in part writing in the tonal system concerns which notes of chords are doubled or tripled. When we refer to a note being doubled or tripled, we mean that 2 or 3 of the parts are given that pitch class, although not necessarily in the same octave. For example, look at this excerpt in Part B of the SelfTest, 5-3 on page 78. The root of the first chord, G, is tripled in the alto, tenor, and bass. The root of the second chord, C, is doubled in the soprano and bass. So we're going to click here. We're going to look at this example by Bach. And they said the root of the first chord is doubled by the tenors, and it's doubled by the altos. Does everybody see that? And then they said that the root of the second chord is also doubled by the sopranos. So when we have triad notes, we have 3 notes of a triad, but in 4-part writing, we're going to have to double some kind of a note, double one of the notes. And most often, that's going to be the root. Questions, comments, concerns on that? We're okay with that? All right, now I got to navigate back because they made me go far away. All right. So we can double. All right, here we go. Root position part writing with repeated roots. 4-part textures. All members of the triad are usually present. The final tonic chord is sometimes incomplete, consisting of a third and a tripled root. The root is usually doubled. The leading tone is almost never doubled because it is such a strong tendency tone. Now, once in a while they're saying you can have an incomplete tonic triad, but you have to have a third and a root. What happens if we don't have a third?
You don't know if it's major or minor.
Beautiful, Zach. Beautiful. Exactly right. So that's not an option. We always have to have a root and a third. So if you're going to leave something out, we want to omit the fifth. Good. Number 2, the root is usually doubled. The leading tone is almost never doubled because it is such a strong tendency tone. What happens if you double the leading tone? What other problem does it give us? if you double the leading tone and you resolve it properly by going T to Do, it's going to result in some kind of a parallel octave, is it not? So you will very rarely, if ever, see a double leading tone. Are we all right with that? Okay, 3-part textures. The fifth of the triad is often omitted. The final tonic chord may consist of only a tripled root. That would be unique, wouldn't it? So we can leave out everything and just end on a tripled root. Or we can omit the fifth. Number 2, an incomplete triad will usually have the root doubled. The leading tone, scale degree 7, is almost never doubled, same as before. So we're going to see part writing examples with 3 parts, and we're going to see part writing examples with 4 parts. Are we all right so far? When a root position triad is repeated, the upper voices may be arpeggiated freely as long as the spacing conventions are followed. The bass may arpeggiate an octave. Example 6-1 illustrates appropriate part writing for repeated roots. So we have the same chord twice in a row, and in the first 2 examples we are in 4-part writing, and in the second 2 examples we are in 3-part writing. So here we have a root, a third, and a fifth. Here we have a root, a third, a fifth, and a root. So we doubled our root here and here, which is perfectly fine. Followed all the spacing rules, everything's okay. In the second example, we have a root, a fifth, a root, and a third, a root, a third, a root, and a fifth. So both chords, we doubled the root, and that's just fine. We're following all of our part writing and space writing norms. Everything's good. All right, here we're to 3 parts. We've got a root, a third, and a fifth, a root, a third, and a root. So we have omitted our fifth, which is okay. We can leave our fifth out. We cannot leave our third out because that tells us whether we're major or minor. Everything's fine. Okay, in this example, we have a root, and a third, so we've omitted our fifth. And here we have a root, a third, and a fifth. So all 3 parts are there. Totally fine. Followed our spacing rules. Everything's groovy. Questions, comments, concerns? It's Monday. Nobody wants to talk to me. It's cool. Totally cool. I'll just talk to myself. All right, we have made it to self-test 6-1. Using repeated notes. Test your understanding of the preceding section by filling in the inner voice or voices in the second chord of each pair. The key is C major throughout. All right, we are in C major. Looks like we're hanging out on the dominant here. Hey, Sophia, did the Cowboys win yesterday? I didn't see, so I'm legitimately asking. Doesn't look like they did. Uh-oh. Row. She's just going to cover her screen. Hey, how about them Dodgers, though, huh? Woo! All right. On we go. All right, we've got a G and a D, a G and a B, and we've got a G and a G. That means that we need a B and a D. Is that true? Who wants to put what where? Where are we going to put the D? Where are we going to put the B?
You could do the B on the top line, like above the G. And then
So this is our soprano line.
Yeah.
So we got to be below that.
Okay.
You with me?
Yeah.
Okay. So you want to put what where?
You could put the B right on top of the G.
Here?
Yeah, and the.
We can't be above
I'm
this
sorry,
time.
in the bass. In the bass.
Oh, okay. Tenor line, you want the B to be here.
And then for the alto, you could do D below the G.
Love it.
Sorry, I
That's
thought I had said on top of the bass.
That's exactly what the book did. Good job. Does everybody see what Ethan just did? So we have our root, which is G, and we have our root doubled in the soprano. So we needed our B, which is our third, and our D, which is our fifth. All right, example number 2. We've got a D, an F sharp, and an A. And we need to go to a D, and a D, and a F sharp, and an A. What are we going to do? Good morning, John. We've already got our root doubled. Sophia Ruby, what do you want to do?
I don't know. That's what I was just saying. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, so we need to. So we've got a D, we've got an F, and we've got an A. And we doubled our D. Do you see that we doubled our D? We got a D here, and we got a D here. Now the book doubled our D here and here. So we got to come up with an F sharp and an A somewhere in the middle. How do you want to do it? What voice do you want to give the F sharp to, and what voice do you want to give the A to?
Can we put them both in treble?
No, we got to put one in the alto part, and we got to put one in the tenor part.
Oh.
So we need an F sharp and an A. What part do you want to give the F sharp to? You want to keep the F sharp where it's at?
Oh, I'm trying to look where you are. Keep it where it's at.
That's always
You're just trying to move them over?
That's always a wise decision. If you keep it where it's at, path of least resistance is a beautiful thing.
And move it over?
Yeah, so we're going to move that one over, but this one we got to move down to an A. We don't have to, I suppose, but then we would have a tripled root and we wouldn't have our fifth. So if it's better if you can have all 4 parts.
But can't you leave the fifth out? Can you leave the fifth out?
We can. We could. I'll play it for you both ways. You see which one you like. Or I like having all 3 voices if I can.
I like the second one.
Yeah. So
I like the second one.
We're going to give that the A down there, okay? Good job.
Okay.
All right, John.
Say, but thanks.
We're to you, John. We have an F, an A, a C. And they're having us go to an F and an A. We doubled our root in the first chord. How do you want to voice it here?
So let's see. We're still trying to keep the same notes, but just voice it differently.
If possible, but you don't have to. You're not. You don't have to. So we've got an F and an A. So it would be ideal to do what?
You could just put a C as the soprano part, or could you put it as the tenor part as well?
They gave us the A as the soprano, so we can't change that.
Okay.
We're filling in. So if we keep the C in the alto, now we have all 3 chord tones, right? We have F, A, and C.
Right.
So then we got to decide, what do we want our tenors to do? Our tenors have been on this A.
can they just stay on that A since it's part of
What
the?
happens? What happens if they do? They could, but I think we have a problem. We skip in the soprano. We have an A. Generally, we want to avoid doubling our third. But what else could we do?
We could either have them go up to the same part as the tenors or down to the. They could either go up to the C or down to the F.
So you're saying they could double with the altos or they could double with the basses, is what you're saying. Right?
I guess.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. Yeah, you're right. And that's what the book does. The book has them go down and double with the basses. Good. All right, Elizabeth, we are to you. We have a C, a G, and an E. And they have had us go to a C and a C. So we need to fill in the E and the G if we can.
So could the alto just stay on G?
Yeah. Altos don't like to move, do they?
And then, wait, okay, so then we have C, G, and then, so then the bass needs to be E?
The tenor.
Oh, right.
Tenor needs to be E. You got it. Good job. Good job. Haley, we are to you. We have an A, a C, an A, and an E. And they have us going to an A and a C. What do we want to put in the middle? Can you hear me, Haley?
Yeah, sorry.
So what should we do?
Put an F for the alto.
So we need to stay with these notes. We need to stay with A, C, and E.
Oh. And the A on alto.
Keep the A on alto. Keep the alto on A. Good job. And then that makes the tenor have to do what?
Press C.
If we do that, we've doubled our root and our third, and we don't have our fifth.
E.
E. We have the tenors go up to an E. Good job. All right, now we're going to three-part writing. Trevor, we are to you. We have an F, a C, and an A. And then they've given us an F and an F.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we going to do? What's the one note that we can omit in three-part writing?
The note is C.
Yeah, we can omit the C, we can omit the fifth. We can't omit the third because the third tells us whether we're major or minor. So we're going to leave out the C, which means we have to have the A somewhere.
Okay.
Which means it's got to go where?
Has to go right there.
Right there where the tenors have it.
Yep.
Good. Good. Jordan, we've got a G, a B, and a G. So it looks like they've omitted what note?
The fifth.
Yeah, they omitted the D. And they've given us a G and a B. What do you want to put in the tenor line?
Would you put then a G, right? Or a D?
Yeah, I think you could do either. You could double the bass, or you could go to the D, which I think is better because then you get all 3 chord tones.
Yeah.
Nice job. All right, Marissa, we've got a C, an E, and a G. And they have us going to a C and a C. So what do we know that we automatically have to do? Marissa? Marissa, you didn't fall asleep, did you? When this hits YouTube. Oh, man. All right, Max. Help out Marissa here.
Okay, so we have a B, right?
We've got C, E, and G that we're
Oh,
dealing
C, E,
with.
and G. Okay, that's right.
And they've doubled the C, which automatically tells us we have to do what?
We have to emit a fifth, right?
We have to omit the 5th. You got it. So we're just going to do what then?
I don't know.
Well, our alto is on E. We have to have a 3rd, which tells us whether we're major or minor. So we're just going to...
I'll put E.
Yep. Just keep that E. All right. Matthew, we are to you. We have an A and a C and an A. And we're going to an A and an E. We know we have to have a 3rd, so we have to have what? Matthew. You didn't fall asleep, did you? Matthew, wakey, wakey. All right, Maya, we're to you now. What are we going to do? We know we have to have a 3rd, which is?
The
So our first chord has A, C, and A, and our second chord has A and E. So are we safe in assuming that this is an A, C, and E chord?
yes, so it needs a C.
It needs a C. And we have a C in the alto, so we're just going to stay put on it, right?
Yes.
Make sense? All right, Zach. We got a D, and an F, and then a D and an A. So it looks like we have a D, F, A chord. So what do we need to add to our chord?
Okay.
What are we going to do?
Add in a alto part.
Well, here we have a soprano, here we have a bass, and here we have a tenor. So what are we going to have the tenors do?
Oh, okay. It's called tenor. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, I see.
So we have an A and a D. We have to have a 3rd.
Right.
You with me?
Yeah. So we'll add in a F over the bass.
You got it. Good job. Does everybody see what we did? Questions, comments, concerns? Is Matthew awake yet? We lost Marissa. Hopefully it was a connection issue and she'll be back shortly. All right, can I clear my screen?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I don't know if I should ask.
Yes, you should.
Why can't we put the F in the alto?
Good question. Because the tenors don't really read up there. The tenors read in the bass clef with the basses, or they have their own little special clef that looks like this. And it has a little 8 right here, telling them that it's an octave lower. So the tenors aren't used to looking for their note in the treble clef. The sopranos and the altos are. So that's what, and the tenor note that was given was in the bass clef. So it would be really weird to go from bass clef to the alto clef. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, we are going to go on to part writing, with the bass being a fourth or fifth apart. Now, this is the most important part of the whole chapter. And this is the part you need to know for life. So root position part writing with roots a fourth or fifth apart. They're going to give us 3 strategies, 3 techniques for what to do. And if you will memorize this for life, you will be happy in your part writing experience. Okay, as you will learn in the next chapter, one of the most fundamental root movements in tonal music is that of the descending fifth or ascending perfect fourth. The part writing principles involved in this root movement are identical to those concerned with the ascending perfect fifth or descending perfect fourth. Other principles that must always be kept in mind are those concerning spacing, parallelism, and the resolution of scale degree 7 to scale degree 1 when scale degree 7 occurs in the melody. So they're already backtracking off of our norm, which said scale degree 7 has to go to scale degree 1. They're now saying scale degree 7 needs to go to scale degree 1 if it's in the melody. But they're going to say if it's in the inner part, it doesn't have to. Already breaking the norms. Okay, so if we have 4-part textures, there are 3 ways for you to move from one chord to the next. Way number 1 is called common tone and stepwise motion. Everybody say that. Common tone and stepwise motion. Very nice. One method for writing this root relationship in 4 parts is to keep in the same voice the tone that is common to both chords. So we're going to keep the same voice, the tone that is common, while the remaining 2 upper parts move by step in the same direction. The stepwise motion will be ascending for root movement of a perfect fifth down and descending for root movement of a perfect fifth up. The purpose of the ties in the examples that they show next are to point out the common tones and not to imply that they have to be tied. So let's see that in action. Here we go. Example 6-2. We have a common note between both chords, and that common note is this G, which they've marked with a tie. So we have a common note. The bass moves down. So the other parts are going to move up by stepwise motion. All right, in example B, our common tone is the C. The bass part moves up. So the other parts move down in stepwise motion. Is everybody all right with that? Questions, comments, concerns, friends with questions? So that was method number 1. Technique number 1, common tone Stepwise motion. Technique number 2 is called similar motion by seconds or thirds. A second method moves all 3 upper parts in the same direction with no leap larger than a third. The motion will be descending for a root movement of a fifth down or a perfect fourth up, and ascending for a root movement of a perfect fifth up or a perfect fourth down. Notice that the leading tone in example 6-3 does not resolve to 1. What? But instead leaps down to scale degree 5. This is acceptable, perfectly acceptable, because it occurs in an inner voice. So we're already breaking that norm. So let's see what this looks like in action. Here we go. Our bass part moves up a fourth. Everything else moves down. No more than a skip in the opposite direction. What was it called again? Similar motion by a second or third. Everybody say that? Similar motion by a second or third. Excellent. All right, here we go. The bass moves down a fourth. Everything else moves in similar motion by a second or a third. Nothing bigger than a skip. C goes to D, E goes to G, G goes to B. Nothing bigger than a skip. Are you with me? Yes, Dr. B. All right. Next example, the bass moves up a fourth. Everything else moves down. Similar motion, nothing bigger than a skip. Scale degree 7 here. Doesn't resolve to scale degree 1, but it's okay because it's in an inner voice. Questions, comments, concerns, friends with questions.
What exactly is an inner voice?
Alto or tenor? Excellent question.
Oh, okay.
Excellent question. Alto or tenor is an inner voice. Okay, that takes us to technique number 3, which is tertian leap, common tone, stepwise. Everybody say it together. Tertian leap, common tone, stepwise. You were all moving your mouth underneath those masks, weren't you? Tertian leap, common tone, stepwise. A third method, although not as smooth as the first two, is useful for changing between close and open structures. As in the first measure, we keep in the same voice the tone that is common to both chords. So we have a common tone. The voice that is the third in the first chord, it becomes the third in the second chord. That's the tertian leap. Tertian. I like saying tertian. The remaining voice moves by step. There's no D in tertian. It's just tertian. There's no turd in tertian. More poop jokes. All right. Notice that the leading tone in example 6-4C does not resolve to scale degree 1. But it's okay. That's perfectly acceptable if it occurs in an inner voice. Are you with me?
Yes.
Let's see it in example. All right, here we go. Example 6-4. We've got a common tone of a C. So it's just going to stay the same. The bass does its motion up by a fourth. So we have to have the third of this chord. The third of a tonic chord, C, E, G, is going to be E. So here's our third. So that third needs to become the third in our 4 chord, which is FAC, A being the third. So our tertian leap happens. Our E, the third of a C chord, leaps to A, the third of our F chord. And then our remaining voice moves by step. Let's do another one. Our common tone stays the same in both chords. Our bass moves up a fifth. The third of this chord, C, E, G, is our E. That's our third. So our third is going to move to the third of the GBD chord, which is a B. So our third stays as a third, and the other voice moves in stepwise motion. Last example, our bass moves down a fifth. We have a common tone, which stays the same for both chords. The third of a G chord is B. That's going to move to the third of our 1 chord, which is E, C, E, G. And the remaining voice moves by step. Notice that these all either went open to close or close to open. Questions, comments, concerns, friends with questions.
I sort of kind of am a little foggy in the open close situation.
Okay, let's review it. Close means that there's less than an octave between the tenor and the soprano. Open means there's an octave or more between the tenor and the soprano. You with me?
Yes.
Somebody asked in the chat, is the distance the same down a fourth, up a fourth? No. Remember, it has to add up to 9. So down a fourth is up a fifth. 4 plus 5 equals 9. So if we move up a fifth, that's the same as if we move down a fourth. Scratch that, reverse that. If we move up a fourth, it's the same as if we move down a fifth. And the notes will be the same. They're both Fs. Here we moved up a fifth to a G. That'd be the same as if we moved down a fourth to a G. 4 plus 5 equals 9, and it's the same tone. Does that help?
Yep.
All right. We got 15 minutes to fly through this. 3-part textures. We could do the same with 3-part textures, but it's a little bit more flexible. Remember that we have to have each chord having a root and a third. And it says to aim for smooth voice leading rather than complete chords. So here's their example. We went from a 1 to a 4 in the key of B flat. So they gave us 4 different examples of 1 going to 4 in the key of B flat. Here we've got a root, a third, and a fifth. Here we have a root, and a third, so we omitted our fifth. But we did that because it was nice, smooth, stepwise motion. Here we have a root, and a third. Here we have a root, a third, and a root. So we omitted our fifth. Here we have a root, and a third. And here we have a root, a third, and a fifth. So we got all 3 tones in. Same for this example. We have a root, a third, and a root, a third, and a fifth. So they're just showing you can do this in 3 voices, but you have to have a root and a third. And we have now arrived where we want to arrive for the day. SelfTest 6-2. They want us to add alto and tenor parts to each of the following exercises. Each progression involves roots, a perfect fifth, or a perfect fourth apart. Use one of the 3 methods outlined in 4-part textures and state which you have used. Method 1, method 2, or method 3. Remember, method 1 is common tone, stepwise motion. Way number 2 is called
Similar motion by seconds or thirds.
excellent. And way number 3,
A tertian leap.
a tertian leap with common tone and stepwise motion. All right, so here we go. We are in D minor. We have a D, an F, and an A. And we are supposed to be going to a G minor chord, which is a G, a B flat, and a D. So we have D, F, and A going to G, B flat, and D. Any common tones there? Yes, Dr. B. They
Yeah,
both
the
have a
D.
D. Good. Good, Ethan. All right, so can we stay on our common note D? And then our soprano went up by a step. Can our bass go up by a step as well? Does that work?
I think so.
Are we within an octave between all the parts? Smooth motion, no parallel fifths, no parallel octaves, no leap in the soprano, so we don't have to worry about hiddens. Oh, hi, Marissa. I'm glad you're back. No worries. No problem. Does that make sense to everybody? All right. Number 2. We've got an A, an F sharp, an A, an F sharp, and a C. So we got an F sharp, A, C sharp chord going on. And we're going to a 2 chord, which is going to be what?
B.
A B, a D, and an F sharp. Is this true? We have a common tone. Shall we try to use it? Where do we want to use it? Do we want to use it in the soprano or in the tenor? I'm sorry. It's in the soprano. It's in the alto, right? The F sharp. So if we do that, then we have to do stepwise motion. What happens? Is there anything wrong with that? Yes, there's something wrong with that. What is it? We don't have a...
Oh, we don't have a third, do we?
We don't have a third. So we can't do that. Isn't that sad? So way number 1 is out. Should we try way number 2 or way number 3? Let's try way number 3. Way number 3 is have the same common. The third of this chord, which is A, becomes the third of this chord, which is D. Does that work? Do we have a third?
Yeah.
We do. Do we have a common tone? We do. Do we have stepwise motion? We do. But the stepwise motion is in the same direction as the bass. Does that matter? Dun, dun, dun. Let's go back and read our example. What did it say? Tertian leap, common tone, stepwise. We keep the same voice, the tone that is common to both chords, but the voice that has the third in the first chord leaps to provide the third in the second chord. Check. The remaining voice moves by step. Notice that the leading tone does not resolve where it's supposed to, but that's okay, it says. In all, they do give an example, and all three examples that they give, the other voice moves in the opposite direction. So, let's try way number 2, which is, what's way number 2? Common, what is it? No common tone.
Second.
Say it again. You got it? Similar motion by seconds or thirds.
By seconds or thirds. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Okay, so the bass moves down, so everything else is going to move down too? I'm guessing that this doesn't matter. Does the direction matter? As long as they're all the same? This example is showing us that it doesn't matter. So we go down from, we need a B, a D, and an F sharp. We got 2 Bs, so we need an F sharp and a D. So we're going to move down to a D, and we're going to move down to an F sharp. Does that work? I think it works. So we did way number 2. All right. Next one, we can see that we have stepwise or common tone, right? So we know for sure that we are either doing way number 1 or way number 3 because we're keeping the common tone. So are we doing similar motion by seconds and thirds, or are we doing common tone stepwise motion? We got to go to E, G sharp, and B, yes?
I think way 3.
You want to try way number 3? Way number 3 says common tone, the third of this chord, which is D, becomes the third of this chord, which is G sharp, which is quite a crazy leap. And then this moves by stepwise motion. Does that work? Ooh, I don't like it. Let's try the other way. What's the other way? Common tone stepwise motion. Can this go to the G sharp? Can this go to the E? Ooh, I like that better. I think it sounds cleaner. Is everybody all right with that? All right, now we got to go from E, G sharp, B to A, C sharp, E. Bass leaps down. We've got an A and an A, so we know we need a C sharp and an E, preferably. If we want this to go to C sharp, what does that mean? This would need to go down to E. Does that work? What way did we just do? Similar motion. They all moved similar motion. No more than a skip.
Way two.
Way two. Good. That works. Okay, so this is similar to the second page in your workbook, page 43. And what we did earlier was similar to page 41 in your workbook. So I want you to try to get page 41 and 43 done for Wednesday. And let me know if you have questions, because that's very similar to what we're doing. We're going to pick up on these 3 methods on Wednesday and finish these examples to make sure you're totally comfortable by moving from chord to chord with one of these 3 techniques. Questions, comments, concerns? If not, I'll see you tomorrow at ear training, and we'll keep carrying on with this on Wednesday.
All right, see ya.
See ya.